Want to find a great webcam for streaming or online meetings? Well, I've owned and reviewed most of the top webcams, and today I'm going to recommend the best ones at various price points from $50 all the way to $300, along with the pros and cons for each. Let's go. So whether you're buying a gift or just want to look and sound your best in streams, meetings, or on YouTube videos, there are a few characteristics that you'll need to sort out in addition to your camera, primarily lighting and also audio. Now this video is sponsored in no way, and I've purchased each of these recommendations myself, along with several others to compare them against. So first with under $50. So I'll start by recommending webcams under that $50 price point. My favorite here is the Movo WebMic HD Pro. Now it almost isn't fair here because this webcam originally went for $250 and now it's the most discounted one on my list with an 80% discount at the moment. It's basically a medium quality USB microphone with a 1080p webcam in the middle of it, and the Pro model also has a ring light around the perimeter with 3 levels of brightness adjustment. Now the Movo has a few pros. First, its price. Second, the audio is the best of any USB webcam that I've tested, and it has an integrated ring light, which gets respectably bright as well. Now for the cons. So first con here is that the webcam is good, but it's not amazing. So it's comparable to most $40 to $75 1080p webcams. Second, the build quality, it's a bit cheap and it's a bit plasticky. Third, there's no software to adjust the camera or audio, so you'll need to use things like OBS, Microsoft Teams, or others which have built-in Windows camera controls, or if you're using Mac, you'll need to buy or use a Mac camera adjustment software to go with it. The next category is for cameras under $100. And this is probably where I've tested the most cameras and where you'll find the most choice. So here, I have to give it to the classic Logitech C922. It's classic and has proven to be a favorite among budding YouTubers and streamers, and you just have to give it decent lighting and it'll perform really well. Yes, I do prefer it to the Logitech StreamCam, which by the way, you can also find for about $100 now too. Now the pros, first Logitech G Hub software, it's pretty good, and if you pair it with a supported Blue brand microphone, you can really dial in the image and audio. Second, it's very plug and play using default auto settings. What will throw them off is RGB lighting, like the blue lighting I have behind me, which seems to confuse the auto white balance and exposure a bit on that camera. Then the cons. First, the microphone is pretty bad. You'll need an external mic, and on a budget, I'd probably recommend the Razer Siren Mini, the Fifine K669L, each at around $30, or the Blue Yeti Nano at $70, which by the way also works with Logitech G Hub, and the Blue Snowball, by the way, doesn't work with G Hub, so you'll want to avoid that one even though its price is pretty low and compelling. Now the second con is it's limited to 1080p at 30 frames per second. Now the StreamCam does have it beat there with its max of 60 frames per second. So if you're all about frame rates, you'll want the StreamCam. If you're using it for things like Teams meetings or Zoom meetings, these services will likely cap you at 30 frames per second anyway, so on balance, I still prefer the C922. So the next category then is for cameras under $150, which is a pretty competitive range. And for me, it's a tie really, and it really depends on how strongly you want to have 4K capture. Now 4K isn't always what it's cracked up to be, and some 4K cameras don't even perform as well as 1080p cameras. So for a 1080p 60 frame per second webcam, I have to give it to the Elgato Facecam. It's now $140, and while it doesn't do 4K, it is far and away the best 1080p webcam that you'll find. For 4K webcams at this price point, I'm giving it to the OBSBOT Meet 4K webcam. Now for full disclosure, I'm basing this off my experience with the OBSBOT Tiny PTZ 4K, which shares the same Sony 1/2.8-inch sensor, and I've been promised by the OBSBOT reps that the image quality is identical. So now let's start with the pros of the Elgato Facecam. So first, the software experience is really unmatched to date in terms of what you can set, including ISO. Second, the image quality is amazing once you've set everything up. And third, the camera itself has onboard storage to remember its settings. Even if you unplug it and move it to another computer, it will keep the settings that you set previously. So now for the cons of the Elgato. So the first thing is the number of choices that you have to set up your camera, and that can be daunting if you don't know what you're doing. So its powerful software is both a pro and a con. Now second, there's no onboard microphone at all, not even a bad one. So you'll need 100% to have a USB XLR or headset or laptop microphone to go with that camera. And third, it's pretty expensive to be limited at 1080p resolution. So now let's move on to the OBSBOT Meet 4K and its pros and cons. So first, for pros, the large image sensor at 1/2.8 inch has a great dynamic range and great image quality. By the way, this might be the same sensor size as the Elgato Facecam, but Elgato doesn't disclose that size. And second, the software has a lot of built-in features like background blur and background removal, digital auto framing, which goes beyond the normal tweaking that you'd expect in terms of image setting. Third, I really like its fit and finish, and as well as the magnetic monitor mount that you can attach the camera to. This also allows it to be mounted landscape or in portrait mode, so it would be a great camera for YouTube Shorts, TikTok, or Instagram, as well as normal landscape 16:9 videos. For cons, first and only, the OBSBOT is a relatively unknown brand, and I've personally had great after-sales service from them, but it's still a risk given the dependence that you have with this camera on software. Thankfully, they do have software for both Windows and Mac OS, like the Elgato does. Second, the microphone array in the camera isn't great, and you're best off with an external mic. And third, the camera can get pretty hot to the touch after extended use. So now let's move on to the next category, and I need to increase the jump to $225 or $75 more than the previous category for this one. So these next two categories, by the way, get pan, tilt, zoom functionality, as well as have great webcam sensors. So my recommendation first for under $225 is the OBSBOT Tiny PTZ 4K, currently going for $215. Now it shares the same pros and cons of the OBSBOT Meet 4K static camera, with the additional pro that it has a built-in gimbal mechanism to smoothly follow you around and keep your head in frame. Now, to be fair, I haven't tried or reviewed the Nexigo Iris 4K webcam for $210 at the moment, but given its 1/1.8 inch sensor, my assumption is that with the bigger sensor, you should be able to get a better image out of it. And that leaves me with the under $300 category. Now here, I have to give it to the Insta360 Link. It's another tiny PTZ camera, which is about half the size of the OBSBOT Tiny PTZ, so it's even tinier. And it's got a 1/2 inch sensor and probably the best compact microphone array on this list. Only the Movo has a slightly better microphone in my opinion, but that's because the Movo camera is more or less a microphone first and webcam second. Now for pros, the image from this camera is stellar. The 1/2 inch sensor and really nice optics really makes a huge difference here. And second, it has a built-in gimbal and some pretty neat controls to lock in on and image correct overhead shots and whiteboard shots. For cons, first out of the box, the auto tracking is a bit too aggressive and hunts a lot, so you have to tone this down in settings. Second, in an early iteration of the software, it was apparently sending a lot of telemetry data to its headquarters in mainland China. Now, having written software and having lived in mainland China, writing software in fact, I don't have a problem with this, well mayo enti, as long as it's anonymized telemetry data to improve performance. That said though, a recent software update minimizes traffic now to just 2 requests to its API to check for updates when you start up the app, so it shouldn't be an issue now. Similar to the Nexigo Iris, by the way, I need to make an honorable mention of the Elgato Facecam Pro at $300, which is the first webcam capable of 4K at 60 frames per second, and apparently has the same Sony sensor at 1/1.8 inch that the Nexigo Iris has. Now, the reviews look pretty favorable now, but you won't be able to get the camera until after the 2022 holidays. And I'm gonna stop at $300, but that said, there are a few more things that I want to mention. So first, in the category of free, because you might already have it, or more than $500 if you don't, I have to recommend using any recent iPhone 11 or newer. Now for Windows, you can use the Elgato Epoch Cam software that's available for free. And there's also an $8 upgrade with more capabilities that gets rid of the watermark. And if you use macOS Ventura, it's a feature called Continuity Camera. If you're okay with fiddling with it and putting your webcam on a tripod mount, it's going to give you an image that competes with or even exceeds every webcam that I recommended in this video. And audio pickup is going to be pretty good as well because after all, it's a phone. Second, if you have a mirrorless or DSLR camera that can do clean HDMI out from Sony, Canon, Panasonic, Fujifilm, Nikon, or Blackmagic, pairing any of these cameras with a USB capture device like an Elgato Camlink 4K, A Magwell, AverMedia, or similar capture card can produce cinematic images that will be better than just about anything on this list too. So check out this link to see if your camera supports clean HDMI out. And you'll notice that with most of the cameras that I recommended today, if you're on a budget, you'll likely still want to pick up at least an inexpensive ring light and a USB microphone. And this is because in most cases, the camera's mic array will be just too far from your mouth to sound good. And these recommendations also hold if you use a good phone or a proper camera. So those are my recommendations and thoughts on the best webcams per price range as of today. Now, if you got value from this video, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to my channel if you want to see more gadget and work from home tips. And as always, thank you for watching.